All right, welcome back everybody to the Digital Construction Conference. So, everybody had a good lunch? Yeah? A bit tired now? You know, stomach full, nice seats, get a bit tired, you know, close your eyes for a moment, and then wake up like, oh, how long was I asleep? Did anybody notice? But we have a really, I think, an exciting panel in store for you guys. So I will do my best to keep you awake and occasionally speak louder. So those who are sleeping will wake up, and but not all the time. So I'll do it from time to time if I see you guys nodding off. But I don't think that's going to happen because we have a great panel for you. We have these wonderful ladies here, and we're going to talk about BIM-based permits. Something very, very important to me, and something I'm really passionate about what we're doing in Estonia. But as I already said in the beginning of the day, this is not limited to Estonia, and there's a lot of initiatives, and I'm really happy that we can now explore some of these initiatives and really go into some of the details. So it's a great pleasure to introduce the panel, but I will let them talk about themselves. Too many selves. But Francesca, please, you're the first. Introduce yourself to the eagerly awaiting public.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I am Francesca Noardo. I work now for the Open Geospatial Consortium, which is the international organization for the open standards for geospatial information, so geographical information. And I work in the innovation program, so research, and I've been involved with digital permitting for a couple of years. I did some projects in the past, first at the University of Technology in Delft. And I started investigating the issue with a very bottom-up approach, so starting in municipalities, understanding what is going there, and from the perspective of data integration and the needs of data. I am also, sorry, Jan, there are slides.
Yeah, can we get some slides for Francesca? I think she had a few slides, so this is not a big presentation, but just to make it easier for her to
yeah, okay. Yeah, that's the one that I have already mentioned, so my previous experience. Then maybe I can do this. Okay. I'm also leading the UNET for DBP, so European Network for Digital Building Permit. It is a network of voluntary people getting together, because when we realize that we cannot do this alone, we cannot tackle such a complex issue by ourselves, but we need multidisciplinary collaboration, intersectoral collaboration. We started joining efforts, meeting, exchanging experience, and sharing our results. I think all of us are part of it, and maybe others in the audience. So we want to make it happen by joining really our expertise and efforts and so on. So we are organizing some meetings, internal meetings, but also events, some common studies and papers, and so on. We are getting wider now. We are more than 80 institutions, and you can see that we are very various, and it's getting to be an exciting collaboration. You can see the new website there, and you can have a look at it. Finally, as OGC, we are involved in 2 of the Horizon projects recently funded on the digital building permits. One is Check, so Change Toolkit for Digital Building Permit, and the other is Accord, Automated Compliance Check for Construction, Renovation, or Demolition Works. And they have just started, so we'll see what are the exciting news in the next 3 years. But yes, we have a lot to work on.
Thank you, Francesca. And moving on, Ophélie, please.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. I'm Ophélie Vincendon from Switzerland, from Geneva. And I'm in charge of the BIM program there, we implement the BIM on three axes. The first one is the digital building permits, which is why I'm here. The second one is also the BIM for territory, with GIS, and the third one is the BIM for asset management. So for the digital building permits, since 2017, we started to digitalize the building permits, first with a platform, a digital platform with PDF and forms online. And now we are implementing the BIM on it. So it's really a huge step for Geneva. And we are communicating with other cantons in Switzerland to implement that also in other cantons.
Thank you, Ophélie. So we will delve deeper into the solution you're developing in Geneva later on. But now, Anna-Riitta, please.
Okay. Yes, hello. My name is Anna-Riitta Kallinen, and I'm coming from Finland. I am an engineer backgrounded, and I have my own company, Arcon, and I'm here for two projects. One is this Rava3 project that we are having for the BIM-based building permit issues, and one is this our project that Accord that Francesca mentioned, that I'm also part in the VTT team, and I have been, let's say, 18 years involving with the BIM development in Finland, and I'm kind of a BIM influencer and open BIM influencer and build a smart influencer also. So this is my background, and I have a few slides. This Rava3 development project is based on the automatic checking processes for the BIM-based building permit process. We have platforms in Finland, have been used many years for digitalization issues, and we have municipalities that have, they use the IFC files, manually checking IFC files for the permit phases, but now we would like to have this automatic checking and national level requirements for the IFC, and we collaborate also these excellent people here and their countries, but nearest and dearest are our neighbor country with Estonian. At the moment, yes, we have been comparing our requirements and our checking rules, and now we are piloting the same software, the Future Insight, that they are using, and we are collaboration countries, so that's very nice to see different countries that how they are doing the same issues that we are working on, and it's so nice to have this network also in this event and talk about BIM and issues, and especially the BIM-based building permit issues. This is the, I have 23 municipalities in Rava3 project, and we are having the Ministry of Finance of Finland is funding us, and we are collaborating with the Ministry of Environment of Finland, the requirements, because they are national level requirements, not just that we have agreement with the 23 municipalities that this is the requirements, but this is national level, and all the material that we are producing is open use and supporting our new law that we are having. We have 1 year time left for the new law, so we are busy at the moment to make these tools that support the law. And as I mentioned, that there's a Finnish research organization, VTT, who is the leader of the Accord project that we have been mentioned. They collaborate also with us, and all the material that we provide is going to be the start point material for the Accord also. We will give that material to this EU level. And then we have the Finnish Environment Institute also, that will be the national place that we will send our IFCs and use that as an information platform that they are doing. And these are our main goals, but I already told them that I assume that you will get these slides so you can read that further. So this is the Accord project, and I have to mention that, no slides? No, something happened.
Well, let's
yes,
see.
But this is the Accord project website. Please visit and get more information. It's a nice project, and we will have at least higher goals, and I hope that even higher results that we will have. Thank you.
Yeah, but this is what we're going to discuss in more detail as well regarding the Accord project. And we were supposed to have actually one more person on the panel, Mr. Zajček, the Vice President of the Chamber of Commerce of the Czech Republic. But unfortunately, he, for health reasons, wasn't able to come here, so he sent his apologies. But nevertheless, I'm really happy with my panel. And I have some questions we discussed before. We prepared a little bit to kind of warm you up. And first one, Francesca, your role at OGC, right? You're developing standards, but they're more in the GIS world. How do they link to the BIM-based permitting? How do you see that?
Yeah, so thank you for the question. Indeed, it's a very good question because I'm probably one of the few persons here dealing with geospatial information, but geospatial information is essential when we have to check building permits. Well, maybe it's not the only aspect of construction that takes advantage of the interaction with the geospatial information, but we can see it immediately that we need geospatial information to automatize the checking of some regulations, because many of them are related to the context. So even, for example, we did a project in Rotterdam, even the height, maximum height of the building, it was related to the height of the street. So if we don't have the street represented with the right height, we cannot check it automatically. And it's the same for the distance from other buildings and more and more complex regulations that can have advantage, that will have advantage when everything will be implemented and we can go forward, of even more complex analysis that can be implemented within the city model analysis tools. So that's why we started these projects, and and this connection, also this collaboration with the construction world and the BIM world. So we think that geospatial information is and the integration, and having a good integration is also a great challenge, because we are coming from two different worlds and we are providing two very different data. The concept is the same. I mean, we have 3D geometries and information systems behind it, but they are following different vocabularies and structure, and they have different scopes and geometrical representations. So we really need to agree and collaborate on human level to make them consistent and integrable and interoperable, so that we can really use them to each other and also have the advantages of the results of the checks, for example, and of the building permits. So when we finish with our building permits, it would be great if the BIM is converted into the 3D city model and it's immediately updated, and we have more information for many other use cases and so on.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what we're doing also in Estonia, is once the models pass through the BIM-based permit check, they are added to the 3D digital twin of Estonia, the national digital twin. And that is using, of course, city GML, 3D tiles, and you know, not only IFC. But yeah, I think it's really crucial to have the geospatial aspect, because we also are including the digital twin into the BIM-based checking system, so we have the surroundings, etc. But over to you, Ophélie, now. You started quite an ambitious project at Geneva.
Yeah.
And I can imagine it takes quite a few resources. I mean, if you think about other cities, countries who are kind of starting their journey, you know, maybe like you did some years ago, or how long was it?
It's 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
But what are the kind of resources we're talking about in terms of human resources, financial, that you needed to get the project going?
Yeah. We need financial resources, so that's why we had a project and the political help us to have the finance. And also we need human resources, because for a project like that, you need to train your resources or have some. So that's why I arrived in the state of Geneva 3 years ago, because they wanted to do the BIM project, but they didn't know how. So I arrived 3 years ago, and we put all the steps and all the strategy online, and now we are developing a platform inside the state of Geneva for the submission of the digital building permits in BIM. And we need also resources to develop that. So yeah, it's a really problematic issue to have the finance, the human resources, and also you need to take act to do that kind of project.
And was it difficult to explain to the municipality officials responsible for budgeting, like, I need budget for this kind of BIM checks, and they go, BIM what? Or was it easy?
Yeah, we need to sell it to the politics. There were some presentations, some experiences. We need to check where this kind of project were already in place, but there were not many. Then when I meet you, I presented to the politics also what you are doing in Estonia, and it was really, really helpful. So yeah, we need to talk to each other and to speak about it, to sell it to the politics.
Yeah, exactly. And now you're a success story in Geneva that can help sell the same concept to others and new municipalities. Thank you, Ophélie. Anna-Riitta, you are involved in so many projects and in so many hats and everything. And I don't know even where to start asking the questions, but actually there is one question which the public here, probably most of you don't know, but in Finland it's going to be legally required to present a IFC model for building permits in quite soon, 2024, right?
Yeah, 1 year.
Yeah, and that's going to be like a real legal requirement. So you can't get a permit if you don't cough up an IFC model.
Data, but the machine-readable data, it's how can I say? If you want to make this efficiency, you use the IFC files, at least for the most biggest one, the buildings. And I believe that there will be some small houses and some small changes that need permits that don't use IFC. But the new law is giving our back support for this. And we are waiting for a lot for this new law, that we will have this digitalization step forward.
And how is the industry and the market reacting? Is it really waiting, or is it scared?
Well, in Finland, they are always, the construction industry is begging our doors that please hurry, make these requirements. When is the new co-BIM coming? We need it now or yesterday, and work faster for that. And of course, this issue is we don't make the models only for the building permit issues. We make models because they are benefiting our project in every way, even in the end of the life cycle, the building, the facility management phase. And this is just a small step, this building permit phase. And the municipality is waiting because this is the automated process will save the time. They don't have to use the manual checking, and they can react for the construction industry. They will have a faster permit process because they have automatically checking something, and they can use the human resource for the difficult issues that needs the human valuation for that. So I think that because we are leading country for the BIM using, we have so higher level goals also for these national level requirements and process and use cases and all the stuff like this.
So the market is demanding it.
Yeah, banging our doors. Please hurry.
Yeah, that's a little what we're seeing also in Estonia. But I think in that the industry I think is a bit more advanced in Finland compared to Estonia, and then there I think it's
but
a lot of.
They have also requirements themselves that we would like to have in this way. Did you understand this way? So they all know the system and they know the IFC possibilities and development and things like that. So they are just not waiting that give us something requirements. They are saying that we want this type of requirement and we want to have this type of solutions.
Okay, and it's this RAVA-free project. This is the outcomes are public, and you will share them with the rest of the world. Yes, very good. That's the answer I was hoping for. But Ophélie, in the case of Geneva, is it the same? Is it the market knocking on your door? Sorry, Ophélie, when are we gonna get the BIM permits? We have BIM permits burning in our pockets.
Not really. It depends on the person. Some architects don't want to change. It's the fear of the change for kind of architects. But some of them want to move on and want to implement BIM on their offices. So it really depends on the person we have in front of us. It's also in the timing. In Geneva, it's not ready for the architects. So some of them want all the structuration, all the information that they will need to provide a digital building permit and in BIM, and then they will start to implement BIM on their structure. So yeah, it's a kind of timing about the architects and the engineer. The engineer are more advanced on BIM than the architects in Geneva and in Switzerland in general.
Okay, thank you. And coming now back to you, Francesca, with the EU Net for digital building permits, you are in quite a unique position because you have a nice kind of overview of what's going on and who are the members. Can you tell me what is the balance between kind of the industry initiatives versus the academic kind of initiatives? Because I know there's a lot of academic work also going on. There's lots of universities in the network. But do you see this, is there a trend that it's moving more into academia or it's moving more into practice?
Well, that's a good question. For sure, it depends a lot also on the states. So in some countries, there are initiatives which are rather top-down. So they are pushed by the governments and like Estonia and Finland. So things are moving, and Geneva as well. In other places, their government is not caring at all, and there are bottom-up, and it's a bottom-up that can be from universities. So we have some partners very involved from universities. Some of them are working in their own countries. Some of them are looking for some use cases outside because they're struggling. Or for locals, like some municipalities that see that there is some potential, so they start with small pilots, struggle with fundings and so on. About the companies and the private sector, I would say that also the panorama is quite various. And also, within the network, unfortunately, we don't have yet a big representation of construction companies, which are probably the ones that are also expecting the outputs of such researches, of such implementation for having some products to be reused within their own processes more directly, more efficiently. We have some software companies, and software companies are ready, are there. The technology from that point of view is ready, is a bit, probably there is still something to do with respect to interoperability, so how to align all these tools that can be also not all alternatives, but maybe we can need different kinds of tools together, but we should find a way of not having 10 different software to be accessed in 10 different ways, but we should access them from one only point. So that's something, the work that should be done. Well, in general, as a comment, I think that it's very fragmented, and we should put all together and make a team out of it, and take the good efforts and the interest from both the company side, the private sector, and take advantage of good stories from the government pushed initiatives and go forward with that. Research is there, research is available, but yeah, it needs to relate to the rest.
Yeah, Anna-Riitta, you want to add to that?
Yes, I have one comment. I have because we know we need this university research, we need this theoretical level, but we need also the practical level, that we are piloting the issues, that they are really working. And I believe in Finland is a very necessary part, that we will show that this is working. You can do it. You can do it in this and this and this native software, and you can export the IFC files in this way that we are planned. Because when you are seeing this in real life cases that this can be made, the positive attitude will come afterwards. So we perhaps need this kind of marketing messages, that we have the theoretic background, we have a research, and we have a collaboration of the global network, but we have also this practical level. If I'm a designer, how will I manage to do this?
So the message is clear. The research is there. It's already done, and we already have the tools. It's just we need to implement, and we need to try, test, sometimes fail, try again until we succeed, and really an agile approach. So you want to add to that?
Yeah, I completely agree with that, but I think that next challenge, even for research, I mean for good research, for applied research, is to find a way to connect the high level with the concrete level and see how all the pieces can get together. So that could be one role also of the research institutes, maybe, to find an agreement between all these various audience of stakeholders and providers.
A lot of research is being done in the Horizon projects like Awkward and Check and DigiCheck, which are free projects that have some overlap, and I hope we can all kind of pool these knowledge and resources together. Ophélie, you wanted to also add?
I completely agree on all of this, and also I wanted to say that I think it will need some training from the universities to teach some BIM and the methodology and what we can do with it, and especially what we need to do to have some really clean model and all the information we need, all the clean IFC and all the structuration. So yeah, I think it's an issue.
Okay, but Anna-Riitta, you'll get to add to that later, but we've had quite a few minutes to discuss here, and I want to see if the audience is sleeping now or they're more or less awake, and I'm going to do something radical. I'm going to go and ask questions from the audience. So we have Slido, of course, and there's already questions on that. But first, I want to really go into the audience here, see closer who's sleeping, who's not. And if there's no hands, I will just randomly pick somebody and force you to ask a question. So are there any questions, volunteers, who can save somebody from being forced to ask a question? Really? No volunteers? Nobody? Or are you all sleeping? Eyes are kind of open, I see. But it's an in-person event, so we can, ask questions in person. And usually, we have our bravest in the audience. Please.
Hello, hi, my name is Agnieszka. I'm from Poland for SME. I would like to ask, because for me it was very interesting what is happening in Finland with the IFC, so like step towards BIM. If the industry maybe, or the people, the owner of the buildings are not afraid that if they are somehow forced to introduce and make the EFC, so BIM model, that this will increase the cost of making the design. Or maybe it's not a problem for them, and if it will be compulsory for all the stakeholders, or maybe depending just for the bigger buildings.
Well, as I told you, we use BIM in every step of the building designing process and in the facility management also. So we are not making the BIM files now we are making the BIM files because we have a building permit issues. We can put that on the permit process. They are, in any way, they are doing this BIM. It's just the requirements of the information and the place in IFC that where you should put this. And because we have to test this in practicality, it will be ready, and the designers will guide it how to do it. And also in the same amount that you are now doing the design via BIM, because in Finland they use BIM, nearly everyone. The industrial housing projects for the family houses, for example, the prefabricated and things like that, but not the self-made builders, not them, but the fabricated houses.
Thank you.
Anna-Riitta, would you go even as far as to say that producing the 2D drawings to get a permit, all while you're using BIM processes, is actually more expensive for you?
Yeah, because we do the BIM already. We have done this so many years, so it's a matter of that we use requirement.
Thank you.
Thank you. The requirements how we do the BIM, and it's going to take same time to make it wrong way, or even longer time to make it wrong way than do it the right way. It's just an agreement that how we would like to have the information. Finnish people are intelligent for this in construction segment, that if we give this guiding instructions that do this is the property sets, this is the use cases, you can use this, they will know how to do it. And we have to prepare also the guidings and educations and things like that, but that we know how to do it in Finland.
Okay.
Yeah.
I saw the gentleman here having a comment. Would you like to share it with the audience, or am I being too pushy?
No worries at all. My question was in line with what Agnieszka just said, is that I understand that your system is not applicable to single renovation of houses, buildings. It's more targeting broader and larger projects, because I represent the European Builders Confederation, construction SMEs. And for us, part of the digitalization journey is convincing also our clients, property owners, to push maybe for a greater digital process, in order that we are called by the market in order to put more efforts in the digitalization of our own activities. And so I understand the point about the price. If we need to go in that direction, I wonder how, let's say, private property owners react to that increase, considering also, and not only the geopolitical context, but the issue that prices are already climbing for many other reasons?
Yes, this is also a renovation project, but the property owner or property manager need to decide that is the renovation part enough big that it's need the permit for one thing, and how many changes is there? Is there going to be, for example, new walls, new part of the building, new add-ons to the building? I personally, I think that it advised to model that, and we know that there's the system that you can collect the information in the old buildings also for the point cloud, for example, that you can use based on the design for the BIM, and you can benefit for that. I hope that I answered the question, but
yeah, he's nodding. He's happy. Yeah. Looks like he's happy. Good. But the same question to you, Ophélie, regarding the renovation. Are you working only with new build, or is it also for renovation?
It's for all kind of projects, but I think it won't be mandatory to put BIM on digital permits. So I think the small project and the renovation will be not the kind of project that will be on BIM, but we will be able to treat it like with BIM. But I think the architects won't submit a BIM model for renovation. And in Geneva, all kind of renovation, even the smallest one, need to go through the digital process, the digital permits. So yeah, I think the smallest one won't be on BIM.
Okay, thank you. So next question. I already see hands coming up left and right. We have a question from
Anna. I am Anna Moreno. I first speak as an owner of an old house. It's the end of the 18th century, where I oblige the small and medium enterprises to use a model in order to avoid mistakes. And I already saved a lot of, quite several thousand euros, because they were just saying, when we will be there, we will see. I said, no, you have to decide before, because I am the owner, and I don't want to have a surprise. And so I can tell you that really BIM is solving a lot of problems. But the problem is, now I am speaking as an Italian chapter of Building Smart Italy, that in Italy we have about 9,000 municipalities and several millions of small and medium enterprises. And the majority, I could say 99%, do not have any knowledge about BIM, about open BIM, but especially about the advantages of this. So what I would like to suggest and to speak in a separate meeting, how we can help these two targets to learn about BIM. For a European project, for instance, there was a very good example in France where they obliged all the enterprises winning a public tender to be trained. So I think that's the only way. Once they have already won the contract, they are obliged to understand what open BIM is and why they should proceed with the IFC file because it's very important for any public administration to deal with open files because they have to manage these files for dozens of years or even centuries.
Okay, so the question was a bit vague, but if I deduct from your comment, the question was a little bit related to open standards. And maybe I would ask Francesca to comment on the open standards part and how you see in all the projects you are kind of having an overview. Are all of them working with open standards, or are there some who are kind of proprietary formats still?
I think that most of them are using open standards, and we were also discussing it during the lunch. Using open standards enable all the chain of using the data, because we are talking about building permits and softwares and checks, but it's a small part of a previous process and a follow-up. So if we have open standards, we can reuse the BIM within construction, within the next renovation. It will still be there, will still be readable by the software in 10 years, in 20 years, in maybe 50 years, if we are able to store it properly. So that's very valuable for the building itself. And if we use open standards and something we know, we can manipulate it and bring it, for example, into the 3D city model or other kind of models that, again, we can use with any kind of software. And we have also an influence on open standards. So we can also shape open standards as we need them for. So it's a process that it's one more advantage for that.
Yeah, very good answer. I completely agree. And by the way, IFC is also the official archiving format, I think, in Finland. And already for a few years, it's also official archiving format in Estonia. So definitely, yeah. Ophélie?
If I may, also it's a matter of legal issue about the we can't oblige a company to use one software instead of another. So for the public sector and for all the public contract, I think we need to ask for the open standard.
Okay, yeah. Absolutely agree. So we had another question, a hand up. Veiko.
So thank you all. I'm Veljko from Bexel, Slovenia. So thank you all for this very interesting discussion. So I have two questions or ideas. So first one is related, my question is related to requirements. When you say BIM, it's very vague. So when you say LOD 400 or 500, I usually say if anyone show me in the world LOD 400, I will give all my shares of the company to him. So far, I have never seen full LOD 400. So it's very important, and do you think about this? So to define precisely what are minimum subset of requirements which is achievable on today's market, and then, of course, insist on that. And my question to you is, what are those minimum subsets? Do you have them available and so on? Because that would be very interesting for the market. Second, my suggestion, I know some big clients who are the owners of large, let's say, housing companies and so on, that for renovated, you mentioned it's, of course, very difficult for renovation to develop BIM models, but what they did, develop much lower requirements for BIM for renovation and achieved in a very short period a lot of buildings digitalized. So these are the things. And this, the last but not least question for you, but for everyone else, is I always try to transfer the work to, or time spent for certain things, to money. So simply the truth is, if you have a BIM model which fulfills certain requirements and you have to check this, it will take much, much less time, and there are a lot of other benefits. So even if it's not mandatory, can be in the future possible that if you do not deliver in BIM, and maybe according to law, you cannot make this obliged or mandatory, to ask for additional fee, because simply you need to work additionally, and this completely makes sense because it's, you know, if I do a BIM model and help you, that's maybe the thing is that you should also, I should have some benefits. I don't need to pay for this. So what do you think?
Thank you, Eiko. Very good questions. A lot of them. Let's start with the first one, was minimum requirements. So Anna-Riitta, you're working a lot in defining these minimum requirements.
Yes.
What do you say to that?
Yes, I think that that's wise that we start with the minimum and we can always add on nice things when we have this national level of minimum. But I think that in Finland we have a mindset of a lot of large amount of requirements that we need for the building permit issues actually. And I think that there will be some kind of cost savings for that you will get the permit faster and perhaps even cheaper. But in Finland, the taxes for the permit issues is not high. So I don't know how it's in here, but it's anyway, if you are waiting for years, as I have heard, some countries, they are waiting for years and there might be some kind of human issues behind that and who thinks what and doesn't think something is suitable, it's going to cost. It's going to cost even if it's made via BIM. But in Finland, because we have this clear process and things like that, we don't have to think about this. If in Finland, if the permit process takes more than 6 months, the people are furious that 6 months we waste the time of the construction, and the 3 months is also the normal. I know that this sounds terrible when you have been waiting for years and be applied for different type of people. It sounds terrible, but that's the situation in Finland that we are having a short of.
Ophélie, yeah. Minimum requirements,
yeah.
Geneva?
We also wrote all the minimum requirements, and we have based it on the requirement for digital, just PDF and forms online requirement. So it's the same need in paper, in PDF on forms online, and in BIM model. Just it's not structured the same way. The information is here for the free ways, but it's not in the same container.
Yeah, Francesca, your comment?
Yeah, if I may add, this of the requirements is essential, and it's essential not only for building permits, but I would say that for any case of using standards, it's very relevant to specify very clearly what are the data requirements if we are talking about data standards, because we have models, data models, which are standardized, but they can be very comprehensive in some cases, and it could get even difficult in some cases to manage a model that would contain all the information which is foreseen in the model. So knowing exactly what is the profile, the relevant information to be stored and how I should store it. So if I have a date, just for a straightforward example, if I have to store first the day and then the month or the other way around, it's all things that can facilitate the use of the model and can enable the use of the model. So even if a standard can allow many things for any kind of use, it's necessary to define and specify as much as possible the requirements. So yeah, indeed, I agree.
Thank you, Francesca. In Estonian's case, we also well, first we needed to figure out what are the requirements. We already had on the market kind of standard BIM requirements for public clients. And there was also a question about the ISO 19650. Yes, of course, we're using that. But what we really need is kind of the Excel table with the information deliverables. Like what kind of properties for what kind of objects should there be at which stage of the project. And of course, when it comes to building permits, you're dealing with the very first kind of stage of the design, which is not really that detailed at all. You don't have the details of all the technical equipment, all the detailed materials, etc. So it's kind of, it has something, and I think it's going through a bit of a change of how we need to redefine the stages of the design when we think about when we apply for a permit, because it used to be for simple drawings, but now it's kind of, when you start with a BIM model, you can immediately create a much more detailed model. But coming back to the requirements, even though we had these hundreds and hundreds of rows of properties in information deliverables specified, when we did for the 60 checks, we actually really needed, I don't know, was it 30 or 40 properties in the end? And these were really the ones, you know, that we need a fire rating for that door. We need to define this zone. Is it public space? Is it private space? You know, things like that. A lot of it is already there with IFC. You get the stories and everything. So that's kind of taken care of. But for the building checks, we really started with the very minimal amount, even though the standard has like a huge amount of data. And sometimes I ask, you know, from clients, what are you doing with all this data? You're forcing the contractors to fill it out, but why? And you're not explaining it to them. And that sounds a bit like stupid work, and nobody wants to do stupid work, even if they get paid a lot for it. You can pay for it, but that's just, you know, I think it's not right to ask for it if you don't know what you're doing with it. But luckily, there are also clients who are figuring out what to do with the data. But yeah, let's go. Very good. We have already 2 hands. I don't know which one was first. Let's go with this side. Yep.
Thank you. Dominik Banaszak from Poland. I've got a question actually to you mostly, and the killer app. Actually 2 questions interconnected. First of all, does the killer app checks the compliance with national regulations only, national building code, or does it also checks compliance with the local regulations? And the second question connected to it, did you start to issue zoning plans including BIM, using BIM? Because this would be necessary, I guess.
Very good question. So you put them on the Slido as well, right? So we can take those off. Yes, 2 parts. Zoning plans. Unfortunately, not yet. We did a prototype at first where we had the spatial area. Also, we could check against it because it was modeled. But at the moment, we are really at the beginning of the zoning plans, turning them into kind of more detailed models that can be machine read and checked. But we are now starting to do that. And the second question you had was, well, I almost forgot. What was the second question? The first one you asked. The building code, the national regulations or other things. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we want to do this. At the moment, we're working with what we can check, and this is often the building code, but also other regulations, like fire safety. There's accessibility. There's requirements for living spaces, etc. So I think there was over, Ivo can correct me, but like 60, 80 different regulations, 80, yeah, in Estonia that you have to follow when you're applying for a building permit. And that's a huge number of checks you should do. But obviously, you can't do it all at once. And we're really starting with the minimum to prove the case that it works. It works faster, it works better, and what you need afterwards. What are the next checks? And this we want to get from the users. We don't want to invent them in our ministry tower. We want to get it from the municipalities. We want to get it from the developers, from the designers, once they're already using the system. And this is what we, in Estonia, we see this works very well. So yes, there was another hand here. So I'm really putting the technical team here at a tough position that they have to follow me around the room. Yeah, please.
Yeah, I'm Giuseppe. I have a question for both you and Anna-Riitta, considering that you both have a similar setup for automating the building permits. First, was it hard to get the authorities in charge of approving specific parts of the projects to give up the power that they had in terms of approving the project? And second, is there a plan specifically for Estonia to store the project data of the IFCs that you receive for the approvals, also thinking in perspective of renovation works on the projects that were approved through this process, so that we already have the data about those buildings and it can be reused?
Thank you. I'll answer the one for the Estonian. Yes, these are archived in the building registry and they become part of essentially public data. And you can use this information later on in any process. But for the whether it's complicated for the get the local authorities to give up some of their kind of freedom to choose, Anna-Riitta, what's your experience?
I don't understand the freedom to choose.
Well, if you're doing automated checks, you're taking away some of the vagueness and opportunity for the municipalities to kind of maybe do one check here or not do a check there. But now they have no choice. It's like...
Yeah, because all the checking rules are based on the law that what you need to check in way in another. So you have to in any way check these. So I don't think that this is the problem in Finland. Or perhaps I don't understand the questions, but
well, in Estonia, I think it's not really a problem with the municipalities that they're giving away some of the freedom they have. It's the biggest problem is to get them to actually tell you what they check, which is surprising. Like, do you have a checklist? And most municipalities in Estonia said no. Well, how do you know what to check? Well, we have the regulations, but you need a checklist. I mean, what exactly are you? You have a new person coming to the office who's going to work on checking building permits. You don't give them like a pile of regulations, say, okay, make sure this building meets all of these regulations. You'll probably have some checklists. But no, they didn't. And then they told us, we said, well, let's do a checklist. Can you provide one if you didn't need one, but let's do it. They said, no, you do it. And we say if it's okay then. I mean, that's a very strange way to go about it, but we did it, and some municipalities were a bit more collaborative than others. But in the end, it's all about standardization and getting this is also one issue we're solving, is getting all of this vagueness from municipality to municipality, where the building permit process is very different for the same type of building, for the same rules, regulations. They treat them differently, but we want to kind of standardize that as well. So you don't have, if you're going to one part of Estonia and another part, in one place you'll get a permit real quickly, and the other place will say, well, you're missing this and this and this, and you can't get it. So it's absurd. But Ophélie, you have a comment as well.
If I may, in Geneva, we also implemented checks on the models and for the structuration and also for the rules and the regulation inside. But it's not really an automatic check, because the human has to go on each rule and see if it's okay or not. So it's some semi-automatics checks. And because automatic checks won't work in Geneva, because all the regulation officers wanted to have their choices. So we have a semi-automatic, which is good for them. So I think it's a way between all automatics and no BIM model and no checks at all.
Okay, thank you. So I'll come back to the audience if we have time again later. So I really needed the exercise. Thank you, walking around. But we have questions on Slido as well. So I want to go through some of these. And there's a specific question for Francesca and Anna. Anna-Riitta, what practical challenges did you encounter in implementing BIM and then practical solutions you implemented? What were the challenges, main challenges?
We are in the middle of project, so everything is not ready. But there's a different kind of maturity level for the native software that, for example, the IFC4 export of writing that. There's a different kind of software that there's a software that is in the cloud bird. There's a software that is on the desktop version only. So if we are looking for the automatic process, we need all the cloud version, the SaaS version, not the desktop version, and things like that. And of course, it's hard work to decide where the information needs to be and check these all of the global knowledge about that, and also the IFC developments and all the building smart development and things like that. You need to be a very large network that you understand that what you are doing. And our specialist is Mr. Tomi Henttinen, who is our BIM hero in Finland, and he's doing a very hard job that he will have the architectural model information requirements ready. But we are also doing the HVAC models and the structural models that are special designing parts. I think that that's unique because most of these countries are focusing on the architectural model, which is the primary model for the permit. How is in your countries?
Francesca?
Well, I'm not sure if the question was for me because I'm not directly involved as Ophélie, so maybe she will have something, but I can
know the challenges.
Answer yes. Yeah, I can answer based on the projects that we were involved on. So, for example, in Rotterdam, we could see that it's very hard to get a good BIM model, a good IFC model, especially because even if, in some cases, even if it's modeled correctly and perfectly within the modeling software, then during the export, in some cases, due to the fact that maybe different authoring software can interpret the IFC data model and standard in different ways, or maybe the designer can make different choices when modeling the things. There are even language issues that can influence the way in which you translate the element, the constructive element from your language to English, so to the IFC model, and then you can choose the wrong element with respect to the meaning that should be the shared meaning and the standard meaning. So one thing was about the quality of IFC that we could get, also the quality of the grouping and so on. Yeah, I can talk too much, so I'll stop. And one was about that, and the other was also about extracting the relevant information that we needed for the checks from the IFC. So we have IFC with representations of the screws and each beam and so on. But maybe for permitting, we need only the envelope. And the envelope is, you need to make choices for extracting the envelope from BIM because you don't know if you need to include the balconies or the decorations, or if the footprint is only the first floor footprint or the overall projections of the building. So there are these interpretation things that need to be clarified, and probably you need to develop something. Well, on the one hand, you need to work in strict collaboration with the officers of municipalities, so you can understand if they only consider the ground floor or not. And then we worked on extraction of geometry, using actually some methods coming from the geospatial information sites and modeling. So that was also some advantage of the connection of the two words.
Okay, quite technical there with the extraction of the envelope and stuff. So, but thank you, Ophélie. Your challenges you encountered, and we also have a question regarding the most important lesson learned. Maybe you can tackle that one.
I think the major issue is the change management and the human perception of the BIM and what is at stake. Technical issue, I think it's you can turn around and make another way to do what you want to do. But for change management, it's really, really hard for me. I think it's the most difficult thing. And we also needed to modify the regulation and to assure that the regulation is complying with what we are doing. So yeah, I think the three major issues is change management, then technical, and then legal aspects.
Yeah, I would actually put the technical in the last, because I think it's change management. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Unless, of course, you're in Finland, where they're kind of telling you when are you going to change finally. But the legal aspect and how do you interpret the regulations, this is what was in our experience quite hard, because if you look at the regulations are made. At first, they're very simple, like we want rule X applied for Y. But then you get except in situation F and except in situation G. But in situation X, you have another whole different situation. And then they turn those around. And then you think of, okay, but how am I going to put that into one algorithm? It doesn't make sense. And really, that's the problem part in legislation, because it's written by humans, is that it often has some contradictions in there that are, when you translate it to machine language is very hard to understand. But okay, we can maybe come back to that one later again. But there was another question I saw here, which I want to highlight, which is a really good one. So I'm not going to answer that one, but I'm going to ask you guys. In terms of cost benefit, after how many months or years you think you will recover from the investment of the digital permit? So Anna-Riitta, your investments, return on them?
For the government, or for the citizens, or for the builders, or for the property owners, or for
let's say for the one developing the system. So in your case, it's the government is paying for Rava free project?
Yeah. I think that it's hard to say, but we have a 1 million euros project. So I assume that we will have a short payback time. When we have a shorter process of the permit, there will be more joy and happiness for the construction segments. They will have a faster way to build the buildings. And also the quality of the national information of the property will rise up. And we know that we could have the machine-readable checkings also in this information. I hope, at least. We have to hope and keep mind of positive for that. But if the construction segment is happy, then I think that government is also happy and citizen is happy.
Okay, thank you. Ophélie, when is City of Geneva going to get its money back?
Yeah, it's a really difficult question. I think it's not the recover from the investment. It's just to be on time and not to lose money when all the architects and the engineer will be on BIM methods, and they will have to print some of their plans. And yeah, the thing is to be on time and not to make the private sector lose money afterwards. I think that's the strategy of Geneva.
Good answer. And Francesca, do you think it's possible at all to quantify the cost benefit we get from using a BIM-based process versus a, I don't know, traditional process, be it on paper or digital, more or less?
Well, I'm not very good in economics, but yeah, I would say that besides the costs themselves, we should also try to quantify all the advantages that we have talked about all the day. So besides the costs themselves, we'll also have update data and new data and available data for the follow-up processes. and it means that if you, for next time, you need a model and you need to make an intervention on the same building, on the same area, you don't have to go and make a survey. So you are also saving all the money for the survey and for the modeling and for having it in the correct structure and so on. So I think it's not limited to the cost of the permits themselves, but it also, and then we have we have benefits on the environment and on other issues. So yeah, it doesn't answer entirely, but it should be something good.
Thank you. Well, okay, I'm going to answer myself as well, but it's a good question. That's why I asked and highlighted it. It's we did an analysis when we started updating our building registry, our building permit system, and you have to quantify it to some numbers. For political decision makers, it's all about, you know, how many euros are we going to save? Are we gonna, you know, and we really tried for kind of optimizing the system we had from 2016 to the state we have now. We analyzed, you know, very simple things, some user interface changes, some more training here. We take out one step from 10, it becomes 9, and we quantified how many minutes or hours it would save per permit, and then we multiplied that by all the number of permits we have, number of municipalities, etc. And the results was we could save quite many human work years by just updating, you know, the existing system, which wasn't BIM-based. And when we started the BIM-based project, we also analyzed. We asked our partners from Future Insight to say, well, is there any numbers out there we can rely on? They said no. There's no numbers. Nobody's able to tell you how much you'll save. So we tried again, you know, best guess, expert opinion, but we saw that we could really, in the end, save about 80% of the time that it takes to check building permits. So again, how do you quantify that? What are the wages? What are the prices, etc.? So it's quite complicated. So not a straight answer, but better than nothing, maybe. Okay, so I see we're quietly running out of time. I bet you all are hungry for coffee. Let's see, what is the most popular question here? We'll give it a shot. Are you in contact with common data environment software companies? Do you consult them in the steps that when you're developing it? Anna-Riitta?
Yes and no. There's platforms are also this kind of common data environment, like Permit and Trimbler also. They are in the same way, the archives, but we have other project bank typing softwares that we are not implementing in this way, but perhaps the next stage.
Ophélie?
Yeah, not enough, I think, because we are developing our own solution based on open standards, but we need the software, the modeling software, to be ready to export IFC correctly and to do all the things that we want on the IFC. So I think we need to talk more to this company. But for the CDE software, we just talk to them and see what they are proposing. But we are developing our own platform, so it's not really an issue for us.
And Francesca, what's your take on this?
Yeah, well, for the Czech project, which is just started, we are in contact with some software companies, but I think most importantly, I think we are trying to enable some kind of modularity and of the platform of the software that will be involved, and we are trying to provide interoperability through common reference architecture and API definitions in a way that all the parts can be exchanged and the CDE can be actually built and composed by many different pieces of software. And all of them can contribute to the needs, also for adapting a bit to the specific needs of each municipality, because we can see that in some cases you have everything similar for the national, for all the countries, but in other cases it's really different town to town. So it's also necessary to implement such flexibility sometimes. And for the steps, again in Czech, we are talking to them and carrying the needs of implementation, but we are also doing the other way around. So we are starting from the needs of the process and the design and all the needs of the workflow, from the design to the permits, and give them the requirements and give feedback back and do iterative work like this.
Yeah, thank you. In Estonian project, we also, of course, we talk with the software vendors and the providers, but I think the key here is, again, open standards. So we rely on IFC, and IFC is already defined, it's a deliverable. And there's also from Building Smart, there's the Open CDE standard, which does some of the work for us, and it's really about creating the API endpoints. And the software vendors are really fast in implementing them if the client asks for that. And then we've seen very capable, like Veiko with the Bexel software has huge amounts of API connections and possibility to integrate almost anything. And we, for our e-construction platform, we also have APIs that you can connect to. And yeah, I think but it's really about having and using the open standards. I see there's a question on IFC, which kind of relates to that. Do you utilize or plan to utilize other Building Smart open standards or services like BSDD, UCM, BCF, or IDS? My answer is yes. You guys?
Yes, also, especially for BCF. The other one, not yet, but we are thinking about it, but especially BCF.
Yes, we have a vision, but not an executed plan, which ones we will transfer the information, but yes, open standard as much as possible.
Okay, yeah, good answer. And BCF is already integrated into the Estonian solution, where you can export it. And we are translating the BIM standard. We have the information delivery requirements into IDS format as well. And for example, CCI is on BSDD as well. So yeah. So simple answer is yes, but I've taken a complicated way of answering it. But we are more or less out of time. But I would just like to ask each one of you one last question. In your experience with working with these BIM-based building permit projects, what is your one recommendation that you would give to those who have not yet started their journey for a BIM-based building permit? What is the one recommendation you would tell them? So let's start with you, Anna-Riitta. Short answer, no long talks now, just one.
Be brave, collaborate, check what others have done, get network with us, and start.
Okay, excellent answer, short and sweet. Ophélie?
Yeah, I think standardization and collaboration also.
Excellent. Francesca?
I would say, yeah, use open standards, specify, and start from the needs, and and collaborate and join the UNET for DBP so that you can collaborate wider.
Yeah, excellent answer. My recommendation is all of those. I have nothing to add to them, and I think, yeah, there's already a lot of great initiatives around Europe and around the world, actually. There's also in Dubai, in Singapore, etc. But we can't talk about all of them, but join the EU Net for Digital Building Permits, and you can find out a lot more, and you can learn from others, best practices. But now, I would like to extend my thanks to our great panel, Anna-Riitta, Ophélie, and Francesca. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for inviting us.
And now you've been sitting longer than me, so you can stand up and go get some coffee. And we'll be back in 3:10 is on the schedule. So is that, Martina, the same? Yeah, so around that time. So have some coffee and come up and talk to our panelists as well. Thank you.